April 2011. A pit boss at the Tropicana picks up the phone to call his CEO. His hands are shaking. "Sir, we have a problem. He's taken us for." The CEO cuts in. 400,000, no, 4 million, in one night. But here's what makes this worse. 2 months ago, the Borgata lost $5 million to the same man. 3 months ago, Caesars lost $4 million, then refused to refill the chip tray. They literally ran out of money. 3 casinos and $15.1 million gone with no laws broken. Just one man in a red baseball cap who figured out how to make the house lose by design. And the most insane part? Every casino knew what he'd done to the others. They invited him anyway. They begged him to play. They even sweetened his deal. The game was rigged from the start, but not the way you think. What did he know that the casinos didn't? And why did they sign their own death warrant? 2008. Atlantic City is dying. The Great Recession hits the gambling industry like a wrecking ball to a slot machine. Revenue craters from a $5.2 billion peak in 2006 to $3.3 billion by 2011, a 37% collapse in 5 years. Casinos that once turned away customers now post 29 consecutive months of declining revenue. Operating profits plunged 21% in a single year. By 2010, more than a third of Atlantic City's casinos have declared bankruptcy. The old equation, the house always wins, is breaking down, but not in the way anyone expected. The house is winning at the tables, it's losing everywhere else. The games still favor the house, but there's nobody playing them. The usual whales, the high rollers who drop a small fortune at the tables, are either broke or hiding in their mansions. Pennsylvania casinos are stealing market share, and the recession is crushing discretionary spending. Atlantic City's once-packed halls resemble mausoleums of gaudy carpet and idle slot machines. And every month, the revenue reports get worse. Now, here's where desperation creates opportunity. Inside casino boardrooms, 2 factions go to war. The marketers want to offer bigger incentives to lure high rollers, discounts on losses, better rules, anything to get whales through the door. The gaming managers clutch their spreadsheets and refuse to budge. Every concession chips away at the house edge that guarantees profit. For years, the gaming managers win this argument. But month after month of declining revenue shifts the power balance. By late 2010, the marketers prevail. They start offering deals no casino has ever offered before. 10% cashback on losses? How about 15%? By December, whispers on the boardwalk speak of discounts creeping toward 20%. 20%. In the gambling world, that's like handing your opponent a loaded weapon and hoping they don't know how to use it. On a cold December night in 2010, a man walks into the Borgata. He's over 6 feet tall, thickly built. Far from the usual Armani-clad billionaire, he's wearing a black hoodie and a baseball cap, looking more like someone headed to a sportsbook than a velvet-roped salon. He laughs loudly, orders whiskey and Diet Coke, and slaps down big bets with a grin. The staff size him up, maybe a rich businessman on a midlife bender. They've seen the type, a high roller who thinks he's a pro. Management leans in. The intel says his name is Don Johnson. He runs Heritage Development LLC, a Wyoming company that builds computer-assisted wagering systems for horse racing. He's managed racetracks, served as a state racing regulator in Oregon, Idaho, Texas, and Wyoming. But as a blackjack player? Good, not legendary, not on any watch list. The executives exchange glances and see dollar signs. He looks perfect, wealthy enough to lose big, unsophisticated enough to actually do it. They couldn't be more wrong. What's the difference between a high roller and a professional advantage player? Johnson plays some hands that night. He doesn't lose his shirt. He bets confidently, executing what one CEO later calls perfect cards, flawless basic strategy on every hand. But he's also jovial, taking the free drinks, chatting up dealers, and projecting a friendly whale vibe. Crucially, he doesn't ask for the usual expensive comps. No suites and no private jets, just the thrill of the game. In the midst of Atlantic City's drought, Don Johnson appears to be exactly the kind of big fish a casino might break protocol to land. And that is precisely what he's counting on. Late 2010. Johnson receives a phone call from a Borgata executive. The pitch: "Please come play, we'll make it worth your while." He's heard this tune before. In fact, Johnson hasn't played at the Borgata in over a year. He walked away when their incentives didn't add up to a positive expected value. Now, with casinos practically begging, he senses blood in the water. So he makes a counteroffer that will change everything. "You want me to wager big? Let's talk about conditions." The casino, starving for action, agrees to meet. But this negotiation won't be about free hotel rooms or show tickets. Don Johnson wants something far more valuable: mathematical leverage. If they won't give him better luck, he'll make them give him better math. What exactly did Johnson demand that turned a casino game into a weapon against the house? And why did the casino executives, some with decades of experience, agree to it? November 2010. They meet in a VIP lounge above the casino floor. Facing Johnson are marketing VPs eager to land a whale and gaming managers clutching probability spreadsheets. Johnson lays out his terms like he's negotiating a business contract, because that's exactly what it is. First, he wants rule changes to Blackjack itself. A 6-deck shoe instead of 8, fewer decks means a smaller house edge. He wants the dealer to stand on soft 17, which benefits the player. He demands freedom to split and double down on up to 4 hands simultaneously. Also, a late surrender and re-splitting aces. Each request makes the gaming managers wince. They know every rule tweak chips away at the house advantage, but the marketing VPs are nodding. They need this whale. Then Johnson reveals his real demand: a 20% loss rebate. If he loses more than $500,000 in a session, the casino refunds 20 cents of every dollar he's down. The rebate resets every day. If he loses $500,000, he only pays $400,000. The executives trade glances. A 20% rebate sounds enormous, but they're already offering 10 to 15% to other whales in these desperate times. What's an extra 5 points if it lands a multi-million-dollar player? The risk managers crunch their models. Even with these concessions, the house should maintain a slim edge, roughly 0.263% by Johnson's own later calculations. Their models say the casino will still win in the long run. The problem: Don Johnson has already calculated exactly how to make sure the long run arrives in a single night. Here's what the casino executives missed, and it's the key to everything that follows. Johnson's strategy didn't rely on luck. It relied on asymmetry. He negotiated a $100,000 maximum bet. With the house edge shaved to 0.263%, Blackjack becomes nearly a coin flip. But here's the twist: when Johnson wins, he keeps every dollar. When he loses, he only loses 80 cents on the dollar after the rebate. He later described it as betting an even money shot and only having to spend 80 cents on the dollar to get that shot. And he built in a quit strategy. If he got up by a few million, he'd walk. If he lost $500,000, he'd take his 20% rebate and leave. Either way, the math favored him over time. According to later analysis by mathematician Elliot Jacobson, Johnson's optimal strategy gave him an expected win of approximately $125,000 per day. The casino thought they were getting a reckless gambler. They were getting a businessman executing a calculated extraction. The trap was set. The question remaining was whether the casino would realize it before or after their money was gone. Instead of balking at Johnson's demands, the casinos compete for them. Borgata steps up first. The moment word spreads that Don Johnson is in play, Caesars and Tropicana scramble to match the sweetheart deal. By late 2010, Johnson has secured agreements from 3 major casinos, each confident they'll be the one to profit from this high roller's action. But when casinos notice, what will happen to Don Johnson? December 2010. Under the crystal chandeliers of the Borgata's high-limit room, Don Johnson begins his campaign. He's bought in for enough of his own cash to trigger the special terms, and he's determined to execute his strategy with precision. Dressed casually, chatting with the dealer, he could be any rich guy on a streak, but every move is surgical. Hit on 16 versus a dealer 10. He signals before the dealer finishes placing the cards. Split aces. He's already pushing the chips forward. The beauty of his plan is that he just needs to play smart and long. At first, the Borgata staff remain confident. Skilled or not, no gambler is immune to bad luck. They've watched hot streaks fizzle 1,000 times. But Johnson isn't gambling in the traditional sense. He's executing a business strategy with defined quit points. When he wins a hand, its profit is banked. When he loses, 20% of that loss is phantom money he'll reclaim at the end. To observers, he's just a man betting absurd sums with a grin. Behind that grin, Johnson is grinding the house edge to dust, and then the barrage becomes a rout. Over several sessions spanning December through April, Johnson catches fire. He's pressing hands at $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 each. He doubles down at the precise moments and splits when the odds favor it. The crowd around the table swells. Whispers ripple through the casino. Someone is beating the house. Johnson's chip stacks grow into towers. By his own later accounting, $998,000 won in December, then $1.8 million in March and April, then $2.25 million over 2 nights later in April. By the time Borgata finally pulls the plug, Johnson has extracted approximately $5 million. $5 million from one player, among the worst single runs in the casino's history. Borgata immediately shuts him down. No more special terms and no more play. They've cut off their own whale. But here's what should have terrified every other casino in Atlantic City. Don Johnson doesn't seem upset. He seems satisfied. He cashes out politely, walks under the golden atrium, and disappears. Because he's already negotiated identical contracts with 2 other casinos, and they're still honoring them. Early 2011. Whispers about Johnson are spreading along the boardwalk. Casino insiders murmur about a mysterious high roller beating the house fair and square for millions. Many don't believe it. Nobody beats Atlantic City's finest without cheating. But the revenue reports don't lie. And inside Caesars Atlantic City, the executives are watching nervously as Don Johnson strolls through their doors. They know what he did at Borgata. They've agreed to similar terms, partly from arrogance, partly from competitive desperation. Now they're having second thoughts. Security is on high alert. Pit bosses are instructed to monitor every gesture. If Johnson blinks wrong, they'll shut him down. But here's the problem they didn't anticipate. Don Johnson doesn't need to do anything wrong. He just needs to play. Caesars grants him the high-limit table, the same loss rebate, and the favorable rules. They're locked in by their prior agreement. Maybe they hope Borgata drained his luck. Maybe they believe their dealers will fare better. As chips start moving, they're witnessing a repeat performance. Johnson's style is unchanged, unruffled, almost casual. He jokes with the dealer, references a sports game, all while executing flawless basic strategy on every hand. Nothing about him screams threat. He's not counting cards, surveillance confirms it. There's no erratic bet sizing. Johnson flat bets huge every single hand because he doesn't need variation. He already has the edge baked into his contract. To the gaming managers, this is puzzling. A typical card counter bets big only when the deck is rich, otherwise small. Johnson just wagers massive amounts consistently, like a man with complete confidence. It's as if he knows something they don't, and he does. He knows that with each passing hand, the casino's theoretical advantage is evaporating. Night turns to dawn at Caesars, and the unthinkable materializes. Johnson's stack grows to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. He crosses $4.23 million in winnings. The pit boss's face drains of color. This is not a lucky streak, it's a systematic extraction. Finally, somewhere around the 4 million mark, Caesars simply cannot absorb more damage. During a pause as the dealer reshuffles, the order comes from above: shut it down. A manager calls the casino's general manager in London. It's 3 a.m. there. The exchange becomes casino legend. Sir, he's ahead by 400,000? No, 4 million. That's all they need to hear. On the casino floor, the dealer quietly closes the shoe. Johnson frowns in feigned confusion as his bets are pushed back unpaid. The pit boss clears his throat. I'm sorry, sir. We're out of chips. Johnson knows exactly what that means. The high roller pit has surrendered. He looks at the green felt, littered with the casino's remaining chips. He has them all. He raises an eyebrow with a half smile. Are you going to do a fill? The pit boss shakes his head. No, we're out. They can't ban him outright, he hasn't broken a single rule, but they refuse to continue dealing under those conditions. If he wants more play, they tell him, he can move to the regular tables where the standard rules apply. Johnson chuckles, racks up his chips, and walks to the cashier. $4.23 million of the house's money is now his money. Caesars immediately blacklists him across their entire network. 2 casinos down, 1 to go. And here's the part that defies all logic. The third casino knows exactly what happened at the first 2. They watched Johnson destroy Borgata for $5 million. They just watched him demolish Caesars for $4.23 million. And instead of barring him, they're about to invite him in and sweeten the deal. April 2011. The Tropicana's high roller floor buzzes with anticipation. Word has spread that Don Johnson, the man who's been punishing Atlantic City's casinos, is in the building. For the Tropicana executives, it's do or die. They've authorized everything Johnson requested. The 6-deck shoe, the soft 17 stand, the splits and doubles and late surrender, all of it. The 20% rebate is locked in. Mark Giannantonio himself, the CEO who approved the $100,000 limit, is monitoring from above. The high roller pit is ringed with observers. Other gamblers, off-duty dealers, maybe even rival executives who slipped in to witness the spectacle. This doesn't feel like a friendly game of blackjack anymore. It feels like a public execution, and nobody knows yet who the victim will be. The cards fly. Johnson starts in the evening and plays through the night. At first, it's a tug of war. He loses a few big hands. The house breathes relief, then rallies with a run of wins. The rebate keeps him fearless. Even when $100,000 hands go against him, he knows 20% returns at the end of the day. When he wins, full payout. It's asymmetric warfare, and Tropicana still hasn't grasped it. Midnight passes. Johnson sips his whiskey and diet, looking like a man simply enjoying an extraordinary evening. But make no mistake, he's tracking something, not cards, the dwindling probability that the house can recover. With each passing hour, he's grinding their 0.263% edge into nothing, and then the hammer falls. Sometime around 2 a.m., the streak to end all streaks ignites. Johnson is betting $100,000 a hand. He gets dealt 2 8s, he splits them. The dealer gives him another 8, then another, 4 8s in a row. Johnson now has 4 separate hands in front of him, each starting with an 8, each carrying $100,000. The dealer's up card is a 5, weak. Johnson knows this is his moment. He's drawn low cards on each hand, 3s and 2s, allowing him to double down on all 4. He doubles and doubles and doubles and doubles. $800,000 now sits on the table across 4 hands. The pit has gone silent except for the whir of surveillance cameras. The dealer turns his whole card, a 10, giving him 15. He draws again, another 10. Bust. All 4 of Johnson's hands win. $800,000 profit in a single sequence. Minutes later, another flurry. $1.2 million won in 3 consecutive hands. Chips are stacking like skyscrapers. This is the breaking point. The Tropicana's floor descends into chaos. Floor managers shout into phones, probably to executives upstairs. He can't stop winning. Spectators gasp. Casino staff are sweating, praying for a dealer miracle that never comes. The $100,000 limit Gianantonio approved is now their executioner. At this pace, Johnson is extracting millions by the minute. When his winnings hit $5.8 million, Tropicana's leadership capitulates. They halt the game. A pit boss steps forward and informs Johnson the casino is ending the session. The excuse doesn't matter. Maybe they claim they've run out of chips like Caesars did. The reality is stark. The Tropicana has surrendered. Don Johnson stands from the table. In the eyes of every dealer and executive present, he has become legend and nightmare. In under 12 hours, he has single-handedly decimated Tropicana's entire monthly table game revenue, a record loss for the casino. Near dawn, cameras flash as he poses with bricks of high-denomination chips, that red baseball cap framing a triumphant grin. Atlantic City has witnessed something unprecedented, and weeks later, the consequences arrive. On May 6, 2011, Tropicana Entertainment announces that CEO Mark Gianantonio has been fired. He's replaced by veteran gaming executive Tony Rodeo, effective June 1st. Gianantonio denies the connection, but the timing speaks for itself. His gamble of courting Johnson backfired so catastrophically that the board demanded his head. The unstoppable house was forced to surrender, and $15.1 million of casino money now sits in Don Johnson's bank account. Speaking of patience and leverage, if you haven't seen my video on how a gang robbed more than $500 million and fooled the Interpol for years, you're going to want to watch that next.